not from dictatorship to democracy, but from a democracy, or let's say more or less democratic society, to the dictatorial, to the brutal society, which is diverse by, which is devastated by war and by inner conflicts.
And that's, I think, that's very accurate. I hope you've had a chance to take a look at that book that we did here, Obama, the Postmodern Coup, The Making of a Manchurian Candidate. We've got a whole thing in there about Gene Sharp and Colonel Robert Helvey, and that's, of course, the Albert Einstein Institute. So I think our listeners know pretty much the Gene Sharp story, but how about these fascist and Nazi groups in Ukraine? And I hope you can always help us to understand, how do they think? Why do they do what they do? Because these are very strange people, right? So in certain ways, we haven't seen this since 1945 or something like that. So give us your insights, please.
Well, the first time I encountered this with this group of people was in 2012, when I was part of the international election monitoring mission to Ukraine, where they had parliamentary election, and this time in 2012, for the first time in the history of Ukraine, there are openly neo-Nazi and Russophobic party Svoboda, which means freedom. Paradoxically, it entered parliament, and it gained more than 10% of votes. And so I came up with an idea to study this party more closely, their ideology, their roots, and their their history, because this party, this Svoboda party, before 2012, it had been a somewhat marginal force, made up of former skinheads and other, this kind of subculture linked people, and
hooligans. Can we say hooligans?
Yeah, absolutely. And before 2004, this party had been called Social Nationalist Party of Ukraine, social nationalist, which means National Socialist.
National Socialist.
Yes, but they just changed the words, from one to another. And so, as I studied their history and their ideology, I also studied the Ukrainian history books, and the books children learn a history of Ukraine in schools and in universities. And you know what? I was surprised, and I was surprised, but not pleasantly, to learn that the ideology of the radical nationalist ultra-Nazi party Svoboda, and the things I had written in the history books, in the history books of modern Ukraine, appeared to be somewhat the same. I mean, I found out that the national struggle between the Russians and Ukrainians began in the middle of the 12th century. Yes, 12th century, and it never stops until the present days. And all the history of Ukraine, or of this territory which is now known as Ukraine, it was somewhat an years and hundreds of years of struggle between Ukrainians and Russians. And moreover, I found out that it sounds ridiculous, but it's there. It's in the books that the very name Russia or Rus and Russians, the Muscovites stole from the Ukrainians during the reign of Peter the Great. And so that's why the Ukrainians, who are true Russians, had to rename themselves and call themselves Ukrainian, just not to be confused with this Northern Empire. It's ridiculous, but it's the nowadays it's the official approach of Ukrainian historical science, and it's the official approach of the government of the people of Ukraine since independence, since 1991. And so there are a lot of people in Russia nowadays who blame President Poroshenko for his attempts to rewrite history.
Hang on just 1 second. That's our hard break, but we'll be right back for another segment with Stanislav Bishok, the author of Neo-Nazis and Euromaidan, Democracy to Dictatorship. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C., and we are continuing a very interesting conversation with Stanislav Bishok, who is the author of a very interesting and I think very timely book, Neo-Nazis and Euromaidan, From Democracy to Dictatorship. We were just going through the, I guess these are high school textbooks, which reduce Ukrainian history into a caricature. In other words, a complete myth about Ukraine being the enemy of Russia and so forth. So this is not my specialty as a historian, but I know enough to say this is absolute baloney. It's just not true. Just a couple of other things, though, Stanislav, concerning the Svoboda Party, right? Oleg Chanibok seems to be the head of this. Now, we noticed that when Victoria Nuland was talking about who she wanted in the government, she wanted Yatsenyuk in the government, but she didn't really want Klitschko, and Chanibok didn't even get mentioned. Has Chanibok been put in the closet to keep him out of the media? And then what would be the relation of this other guy, Yarosh, who is now, we saw Yarosh join the National Command structure, and then a series of murders have taken place in Kiev, starting with the regime opponent Kalashnikov, I think his name was.
The problem with Tyagnybok was that he had been too well known even to the Wiesenthal Foundation for his anti-Semitic rhetoric. So sure, they decided to put him in the closet. However, the ideology, the very ideology of Svoboda Party, of openly Russophobic and neo-Nazi stance, now it is the dominant ideology of Ukraine as a state, and these textbooks, they had been rewritten, so to speak, long before the coup took place. They had been rewritten in 1991. And so that's why the new generation of Ukrainians who claim to be patriots, and European-minded people, they don't know any other history. Any other from what they have learned in schools and in universities, and that's the problem. And coming to Dmitry Yarosh, who is the leader of right sector paramilitary group, he used to be in the comment of now the head of the security service of Ukraine, Valentin Nalyvaichenko. Valentin Nalyvaichenko used to be a MP, and Dmitry Yarosh leader of right sector, was his subordinate, and and he is now. So the thing is that the right-wing, the military right-wing factions have been subordinate and have been controlled by the security service of Ukraine for years now, and it's not a secret. It's the open information. Everybody knew it and everybody knows it. But surprisingly, especially in the West, this information is appears to be, not very interesting. Well, it doesn't matter. What matters is Russian aggression, annexation of Crimea, and all these things. And nobody seems to care about their about the ideology which drove this coup, about the ideology of today's Ukraine, and I think it's well, for me it's a threatening sign. Let's say it's ominous. It's bad omen that people people are aware, or they believe they are aware of Russian aggressiveness, but they don't know. They know nothing about Ukraine and about Ukrainian ideology nowadays.
Just on this question of the Ukrainian intelligence services, during the tour that I was fortunate enough to take, we heard a number of people saying that the Western intelligence agencies, I guess the CIA, MI6, people like this, had penetrated and taken over large parts of the Ukrainian intelligence apparatus, and that